The silent orders. A Hattie McDaniel story. My husband texted me, stuck in a classified briefing. Happy 3rd anniversary, Hattie. I'll make it up to you. I read that message sitting perfectly still at table 7 of the Admiral's Table, the most exclusive restaurant in Newport Naval Station's civilian district. My white dress uniform pressed to perfection. My gold commander's insignia catching the candlelight. My anniversary dinner reservation made 3 weeks in advance. And my husband, Lieutenant Commander Douglas McDaniel, was sitting 4 tables away, kissing a woman who was not me. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I was a naval intelligence officer with 14 years of service, 2 commendations for psychological composure under enemy interrogation conditions, and a classified file thicker than most people's entire careers. I had been trained, formally, extensively, at a cost to the United States government of approximately $2 million, to feel nothing when everything around me was collapsing. So I felt nothing. I picked up my water glass. I took a slow, measured sip. I set it back down on the white linen tablecloth with the precision of someone defusing a bomb. Because that is exactly what I was doing, defusing the bomb detonating inside my chest. Douglas was laughing at something she said. She was blonde, late 30s, wearing a red dress that cost more than my monthly housing allowance. Her hand was on his jaw in a way that was not new. That was the thing that hit me hardest, harder than the kiss itself. The casual ownership of the gesture, the way she touched him like she had touched him 1,000 times before. How long? That was the only question my intelligence-strained brain could formulate. Not why, not who, just the clinical, operational question, how long has this asset been compromised? I was reaching for my phone to call my driver. I would leave, I decided. I would leave with dignity, and I would deal with this through proper channels, meaning divorce attorneys and military legal counsel, when a hand closed gently around my wrist. I nearly broke 3 of the fingers attached to it out of pure reflex. Easy, Commander. The voice was low, female, calm with the particular calmness of someone professionally trained in it. I need you to stay seated. I need you to keep looking at me, and I need you to keep your face exactly as neutral as it is right now. Can you do that? I looked at the woman who had sat down across from me, without invitation. She was perhaps 50, silver hair cut close to her head. No uniform, but she wore civilian clothes the way military people always wear civilian clothes, functionally, without vanity, as a costume rather than an expression. Her eyes were the color of deep water and about as warm. She was not wearing any jewelry except for a single ring on her right hand, a Naval Academy ring, class of 1998. Who are you? I asked. My voice was perfectly level. I was very proud of it. Someone who has been watching your husband for 6 weeks, she said. She did not whisper it. She said it in the tone of someone reading a weather report. And someone who needs approximately 4 more minutes before I can tell you why you are going to be very glad you did not walk over to that table. I looked back at Douglas. He was pouring wine now, smiling that smile, my smile, the one I thought belonged to me, across the white tablecloth at a woman whose name I didn't know yet. 4 minutes, I said. 3.5 now. Then start talking. Her name, she told me, was Rear Admiral Grace Calloway. Retired, currently functioning as a civilian contractor for a joint naval intelligence and defense intelligence agency task force that had been running for 8 months under the operational name Cold Harbor. Your husband, she said, accepting a glass of water from a waiter who had no idea he was walking through the middle of something, is not having an affair. I looked at her. He is running one, she continued. There is a difference. The woman at that table is not a romantic interest. She is a foreign intelligence asset operating under diplomatic cover as a cultural attaché for a European embassy I'm not going to name in this restaurant. Your husband has been meeting with her for approximately 4 months. We believe, and I want to be precise here, Commander, because you deserve precision, we believe he was recruited approximately 14 months ago. The dining room continued around us. Silverware clinked. Someone laughed at the bar. A couple near the window clinked their glasses together in a toast. Recruited, I repeated. We believe the initial approach was made during his assignment to the Brussels NATO summit. You were deployed to the Pacific at the time. He was lonely, possibly vulnerable, and she, or someone like her, made an approach that was personal before it became operational. It is a very old playbook, and it works with remarkable consistency even on people who should know better. I thought about Brussels. 14 months ago, I had been in the South China Sea running surveillance operations I still couldn't discuss in a non-secured location. Douglas had texted me every night. "Miss you, counting the days. This city is beautiful, but it's not home without you." I had saved every single one of those texts. What has he given them? My voice was doing something remarkable. It was staying completely, utterly calm while the rest of me was experiencing something I had no tactical framework for. "That," Admiral Calloway said, "is what tonight is going to answer." She glanced toward Douglas's table. "She is not here for dinner, Commander. She is here for a handoff. We believe he is carrying a physical transfer device, most likely embedded in something personal, something that would pass a casual search, and that the exchange will happen before they leave this restaurant." "You're letting it happen." "We are watching it happen. There is a difference." She met my eyes. "We need the full chain. We have him. We need her handler and her handler's handler and the network that runs 3 levels above this restaurant in a city I am not going to name. If we move on Douglas tonight, the chain goes cold and 14 months of work dissolves." She paused. "I am sorry, Commander. I want you to know that I genuinely mean that." I looked at my husband. He was leaning forward now, saying something close to her ear. Intimate looking, practiced. A performance I had apparently been watching for over a year without knowing it was a performance. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Why is a retired rear admiral sitting across from me in a civilian restaurant telling me any of this?" She was quiet for a moment. "Because," she said carefully, 40 minutes ago we intercepted a communication that changed our operational calculus. The handoff tonight is not just data, Commander. We believe Douglas is passing them something that directly relates to your current assignment." She held my gaze. "Your surveillance work in the Pacific, the positioning data, the asset network." The world went very still. My work, my assets, people whose lives existed inside classified files that I guarded with the same ferocity I would guard my own children. Real people, operating in real danger, whose safety depended on information that no one should have been able to access except through me. "He couldn't have accessed that," I said. But even as I said it, I was running the operational calendar in my head, cross-referencing it with every moment Douglas, and I had shared the same physical space over the past year. Every evening he had been home when I was working late. Every weekend trip I had taken while he remained in our house with my laptop, my files, He accessed your personal workstation 11 times over 4 months, Admiral Calloway said quietly. "We have the forensic record. We did not alert you because alerting you would have altered your behavior and potentially compromised the operation." She paused. "I am aware that is a decision you may reasonably be angry about." Angry? What an insufficient word. "What do you need from me?" I asked. She reached into her jacket and placed a small earpiece on the table between us, partially concealed beneath the menu. "We need you to do exactly what you were already planning to do," she said. "We need you to approach his table. We need you to act like a wife who has just caught her husband on their anniversary. We need you, and I cannot overstate how much we need this, to make enough of a scene that her security detail, which is currently positioned at the bar and near the entrance, focuses entirely on you." I understood immediately. "While they're watching me," I said, "your people move on her." "Our people move on him," she corrected. "We need the device before the handoff completes. Once it changes hands, we lose the chain." She looked at me steadily. "I am asking you to use your marriage as an operational cover. I am asking you to perform the worst moment of your life in a public restaurant so that we can prevent those assets from being burned." A pause. "I will not pretend that is a small thing to ask." I sat with it for exactly 4 seconds. Then I stood up. I smoothed the front of my dress uniform. I adjusted my cap. I picked up the glass of red wine that the waiter had poured for me 15 minutes ago when I was still a woman waiting for her husband to arrive for their anniversary dinner. "How long do you need?" I asked. 90 seconds. "You'll have 3 minutes," I said. "I'm thorough." I have replayed what happened next many times. I have replayed it in the debrief rooms and in the legal proceedings and in the very long, quiet hours of the weeks that followed. I have tried to locate the exact moment when Hattie McDaniel, the woman, the wife, ended, and Commander McDaniel, the officer, the instrument, took over completely. I think it was the moment Douglas looked up and saw me walking toward his table. His face did something I will carry with me for the rest of my life. It collapsed, not into guilt. Guilt would have been almost understandable, but into calculation. For just one fraction of a second, before the social mask slammed back into place, I watched my husband of 3 years run a threat assessment on me. I was a target. I was a variable. I was a problem to be managed. I set that knowledge aside. I would deal with it later. Right now, I was 90 seconds of operational cover, and I was going to deliver every single one of them. "Douglas," my voice cracked on purpose. Not too much. I am not a theatrical person, and an oversell would have looked wrong. Just enough. Just the right fracture in just the right place. I have been sitting at that table for 45 minutes. He stood. "Hattie." "Don't." I let my eyes go to the woman across from him. Let them fill, genuinely, as it turned out, because some things do not require performance, with something that looked like devastation, but was actually fury in a very sophisticated disguise. "On our anniversary, Douglas, on our anniversary." The woman in the red dress had gone very still. "Good, stay still. Keep your eyes on me. Keep every pair of eyes in this room on me." "It isn't Hattie. Please sit down, this isn't what." "I am a naval intelligence commander," I said, and I let my voice rise just enough to carry to the bar, just enough to turn heads, just enough to make the 2 men in civilian clothes near the entrance straighten with professional attention. "I have 14 years of service and 2 commendations, and I have given everything, Douglas, and you are sitting here on the night of our anniversary kissing a woman who is not your wife." I let the wine glass slip from my hand. Not at him, not at her. Just slip. A terrible, graceful accident that sent red wine across the white tablecloth in a spectacular arc and caused every person in the Admiral's table to look in our direction simultaneously. 90 seconds. I gave them 180. I have never been more precisely, more devastatingly in control of anything in my entire life, and I have never felt so completely destroyed. They arrested Douglas in the parking lot. They detained the woman in the red dress, whose real name, I later learned, appeared in 3 separate Allied intelligence databases under 3 separate identities, in the restaurant's kitchen corridor, 45 seconds after I knocked over that wine glass. The physical device was recovered from the inner lining of Douglas's service cover, his uniform cap, which he had brought in a garment bag to change into after dinner, because Douglas had always been meticulous about his dress uniform, and I had always loved that about him. The assets were not burned. Every single one of them is still operational. I know this because I checked, and because checking is the only thing that made the months that followed bearable. Admiral Calloway found me standing outside the restaurant in the cold November air, still in my dress uniform, holding my phone without any particular plan to use it. "It's done," she said. "I know." She stood beside me for a moment without speaking, which I appreciated more than I can express. "The DIA is going to want a full debrief," she said eventually. "Legal is going to want more than that. This process is going to take time, and it is going to be exceptionally unpleasant." She paused. "For what it's worth, Commander, what you did in that room." "I know what I did," I said. I wasn't being dismissive. I genuinely knew. I had run the operation cleanly. I had performed the function I had been asked to perform with precision and control, and I had protected the people I was responsible for protecting. I had also just destroyed my marriage in a restaurant full of strangers while pretending it was breaking my heart, when the reality was so much more complicated and so much worse than that. What I need to know, I said, is whether any of it was real. I looked at the city lights reflecting in the harbor water. Not the intelligence, not the operation. I understand all of that. I felt the cold air in my lungs, steady and clean. I need to know if he ever at any point. I don't know, Admiral Calloway said, and I believed her, which was its own kind of terrible gift. That is an honest answer, Commander. I genuinely don't know. I nodded once. Then I straightened my cover. Habit, reflex, 14 years of muscle memory insisting on correctness even now, and I walked to my car. Behind me, the Admiral's table glowed warm and gold in the November dark. Inside, someone was probably still celebrating an anniversary, probably clinking glasses and saying to us, and meaning it without knowing yet all the ways a person can mean something and not mean it simultaneously. I drove home. I made tea. I sat at my kitchen table in my dress uniform at 11:30 at night, and I wrote, in the precise and unemotional language of an official after-action report, everything I could remember about the evening's events. I was a naval intelligence commander with 14 years of service. I had run the operation cleanly. And in the morning, I would begin the considerably harder operation of figuring out who Hattie McDaniel was now. Not the officer, not the instrument, not the wife of a man whose face had gone cold and calculating when he saw her walking toward him. Just Hattie. Just me. Starting over. Starting clean.